here, and then it goes over here. But most importantly, it's what goes on right here. Well, would you look at that? It looks like I'll be in charge of the hand sounds tonight. They're fast and they're aggressive. They are. They really, really, really are. And that's all right. I am happy to oblige. If you look really closely, right over here, look, focus. If you look right over here, right off the bat, I'm gonna link like 3 different ASMR fantastic, awesome, the best ASMR creators in the description. Their entire auras have encouraged and inspired what you are seeing in front of your own faces. Faces with no places. Places. So, most importantly, before I lost track, we're going to be focusing, right? We're going to focus right here for me. Just look right here. See that? See what's happening? Yeah, all of these fibers here, because they're skin fibers, they all have to respond very quickly to this reaction. And it's a chemical reaction. I do not lie. That's exactly what's going on. And most importantly, this reaction, it's happening around you. Around you. So you really have to pay close attention. You don't want to miss it. Because it can kind of just start and stop and continue. And you don't even expect it to. Okay, so take a good look. Take a good look. Because we've already begun. We've already begun. Fantastic. Down here, you know, but most of all, we're gonna need the relaxation to begin at some point. Truthfully, it doesn't really have a set time or instance and where it's supposed to begin. It's just going to abruptly happen very quickly. Some might say aggressively. There's still a lot of dispute into that case. Okay. We don't have the most amount of time. So you're gonna have to focus. You have to focus at all of these right here, okay? Gonna work it through. You're not gonna think about it because it's already there. You know, you don't have to think about something that is already, in fact, there. You know, put it, place it, chunk it, and you're good to go. Okay, good. Perfect. Great. See, it may seem odd sometimes, You might find me doing this very, very weird thing quite often, in fact. A lot of people do this. A lot of people do this. But you'll find me looking right at your knees. Honestly, please just don't take any offense to it. I'm not looking on purpose. It's just an automatic reaction, you know. I'm paying attention right here, I swear. You know, there's nothing more important to me in this situation than to, you know, interact with you and really focus on what's on hand. But honestly, sometimes I go right down to the knees, and that has everything to do with me, okay? It has everything to do with me, nothing to do with you, nothing that you did wrong. That's okay, you can relax. You can forget about it, really. You can completely forget about it. Some little, bit louder, a little bit more aggressive sounds. I typically fall, as you know, of course, into more of a slow and relaxed pace. But in this case, I think definitely gonna have to fight that. Natural reaction. I'm always trying to figure out why certain sounds are considered to be ASMR, whether it is something simple like tapping to something a little bit broader like hand sounds, you know. And I can't pinpoint what could be the root of the tingle, because everything has a beginning, right? Everything has to have a beginning. Something that caused it to happen, or at least, you know, got the snowball rolling. And in this case, I can't figure it out, you know? Tapping, it sounds like rain, right? People have been falling asleep earlier since the dawn of time when it was raining outside. And so whether or not rain is soothing, or if it's just the body was going to sleep earlier and sleeping longer because the rain was keeping people inside, it's just a very natural link now to ASMR, right? Very natural progression. It makes sense. But what part of hand sounds falls into nature? I like to think it's kind of like wind, right? Rustling through some like sheets hanging. But honestly, that's more like brushing or something like that. definitely more like brushing. Hand sounds are also just so various. You know, you can grip like that. That's a hand sound. This one in particular, it's really, really good when highly sensitive. So let's try it for 30 seconds on the clock. Are you ready? It's going to be increased sensitivity. Come back to a more natural, normal state. Then you have these, right? With hand rubbing. It only reminds me of when it's cold outside. So you've been skiing all day in the Canadian mountains, right? And then you go into the chalet. Not to be confused with Swiss chalet, no. And you rub your hands by the fireplace. That's the sound that you get. That's the hand sound. The rubbing one. My favorite thing that people can do is when they can clap really fast by like doing something like this. I've never ever been able to do it. It's probably just a Google search away, right? But I've just never, ever done it, I guess, in a nice way. The mystery has stayed a mystery, and the curtain hasn't been lifted on that yet. Then we have finger flutters, which I honestly think sound good just because there's like 20 actions happening per second. And in fast ASMR, that is very, very, very good. Very good. Very, very good. Very good. I hope that sound wasn't swamp monster and was more just groggy morning voice. I don't know why knuckles sound like that, but they do, and that's okay. And then of course we have the flick, which is a lot louder and aggressive to you than it is to me, and I don't know why. I can see the microphones go a bit crazy when you do that. And yes, we are also using the new homemade microphone for this test as well. I'm still calling it tests You know, you get the new microphone and you feel like you're doing ASMR for the first time again. But I was really pleasantly surprised to see how many people were genuinely curious about how I made the microphone. Which is cool. Like, I had people that like make music professionally reach out to me. and other people who just want to get into ASMR and reach out to me, who want to know how it works. And honestly, it's not really feasible to produce, right? I'm using circuits. So the circuit boards I'm using, hopefully people are asleep and they won't hear this. That's kind of a secret. I'm using circuit boards from the newer Rode NT1s. It's not the NT1A, but the NT1s actually have quieter connections, right? Quieter connections, maybe better solder, maybe better capacitors. I really don't know too much about the technical side. Any electrical things I've learned in the last year have been all like, this is a power, this is a ground, how do you test them, what do you never do with them, right? So I really don't know too much about how these beautiful boards even work, but nonetheless they're super duper quiet, very quiet. And then I used some capsules that I've always loved, and I got them for free from Lewitt. They came off of the 440s, something like that. I should probably get you the exact information, but this is just a ramble, right? It's just a ramble. This is just a ramble. It's just a ramble to ramble about things. But I got those capsules and they were just really lying around. And I realized one day I like how quiet the Rodes are. R-O-D-E. But I do not like their sound. It's very high on the frequencies. It feels very like you're in a balloon. It feels very, it just feels very hollow, but like high pitched. And mind you, we're talking about the most nitpicky sound analysis you could ever think of. So the difference is so minute. And I noticed the Lewitts, they sound so great, they're so punchy, but they have a much higher noise floor. And yes, I could just go out and buy their higher model, but I've always been the type of person who likes to reuse things. I find it, one, it's more fun, of course, but two, we don't need more new things on the planet, right? We have a ton of really, really cool old stuff. Most of the movies I watch are older than the 2000s, right? So they're from the 90s, 80s, because there's so much good stuff out there that people still haven't seen. I'm obsessed with it. But the capsules, they came from those Lewitts, and I basically just mixed and matched and was very, very careful with how I soldered everything together. The bulk of my work was putting it all together in a very compact, sturdy case, right? So I was cutting, molding, gluing with high-strength silicone glue, and then really the last step that I mentioned was just grounding. So you have to ground the capsule, then you have to ground the board, and then you have to ground the outer case. This is something I learned 2 years ago when I dissected a microphone. And it's that without a protective metal shield, it's not just for looks, it's not just to protect from physical impact, it actually catches all the electronic noise in the air. If our ears could hear it, we would go insane, but there are radio waves and all kinds of frequencies that we can't hear that interfere with the microphone. Excuse me. And the protective mesh is what catches those sounds, and then those sounds have to go somewhere, which is where I grounded them, right? So there's a completely separate cable for that, but then everything else is grounded through the XLR cable to the recorder, which I do not like because technically the recorder isn't grounded, and anybody who's very well versed in the technology will probably correct me, but I do not think that these things are grounded. Internally, sure, but it doesn't go anywhere, so is it really grounded? Once again, this is not something I'm an expert in, but just with layman's common sense, it doesn't make the most sense, really. Well, that turned out to be a lot more of a ramble than I could have ever anticipated. Wow. Yeah, that's really the microphones. Let's focus on some serious hand sounds here at the end. Ooh, I guess it's not really it with the microphones. If there is one thing I would do incredibly different, and nobody's going to notice this, but I notice this, the capsules are right against the mesh grill. They're really sandwiched in there, and I thought that'd be good. I thought it'd be sturdier. I thought, I just thought it'd be better. But then I didn't realize that any vibrations, whether it be walking or touching onto the microphones, walking on the ground and touching the microphones, two separate things, that vibration goes directly into the microphone, which is no bueno. So I might have to redo it again. I probably won't, because it's really not noticeable, except for very, very select situations, right? Very, very select situations. But yeah, that's one thing I would do differently. It's funny, I use that silicone adhesive I told you about to shock mount the microphone, not only where the capsules meet the circuit board, but also where the circuit board meets the aluminum enclosure. And that was all for nothing if the capsule is touching the outside of the microphone, right? Ideally, you'd have them floating inside the protective mesh, but you know. Okay, good, great. I'm eating my hair, aren't I? Yeah. really, really, really good sound where it just goes. It kind of sounds like a million little geckos fumbling for something all at once. They're all just looking for something and they're going back. You know what I mean? It makes sense. It really, really does. Okay. That is, in fact, all. Thank you for joining me on this mystical adventure that we call ASMR. I hope you enjoyed. Take it easy, keep sleeping, keep relaxing, keep dreaming, and I will see you in the next episode of The Simpsons. Good night, and once again, take care. Good night.